In the echoing dark, my world jolted awake, a worried shout, frantic shaking. Blurred faces hovered, and my mind clawed desperately for any sense of self or place or time. With my vision clearing, I saw a round face I both knew and didn't. Wang Hao, panicked, yelling that today was the final assessment, urging me frantically to get moving. Memory fragments crashed into me, a brutal tide. I'd been hit by a truck, dying alone in the rain, but now I sat alive in this bright, unfamiliar classroom. My name is Lin Yu again, but this body came with a mountain of fatigue and sorrow. An exhausted high schooler at the bottom, haunted by a sick mother and crushing poverty. Decades ago, the dimensional rift appeared, unleashing monsters, zombies, plagues, enough to shatter civilization. Now, every healthy adult was a pawn in this forged apocalypse. A so-called system, the dimensional hub, forcibly bound everyone. Attribute panels, 3 resurrections, rare awakenings at 18, but we all had to survive 5 dungeon trials. Wang Hao yanked me from my daze, dragging me down noisy halls to the playground, a stampeding herd of terrified, hopeful students about to face their first disaster. On the playground, thousands of classmates lined up, faces flashing between excitement, terror, and hope. This was the beginning of our new, potentially last life. The principal's rousing speech thundered over us. Flowers in the greenhouse, forced to become warriors, testing fate in a world where monsters and glory waited around every corner. The dimensional hub gave 3 lives, forced 5 dungeons. Fear crackled in the air, but the motto rang in my heart: search, fight, retreat, survive, and return home alive. Instinctively, I focused, and a faint blue light appeared before my eyes. My status floated in digital lines. Lin Yu, level 1, weak stats, suboptimal health, ordinary to the core, 8 points in everything, 2 points below normal, weighed down by exhaustion and hunger. No profession, no powers, not even a single stat boost, the weakest possible start. This body's every worry was now mine. My mother's health, our poverty, my unremarkable abilities. For her sake, I had to do more than survive, I had to succeed. Suddenly the assessment began. A wave of data rolled across my panel. Random team matching. My heart pounded. Teammates could spell life or death in this new world's chaos. When the team assignments locked in, dread tumbled through me. My squad, Su Qingxie, now a medical soldier, my childhood friend and flawless idol, plus her loyal supporters, Scout and 2 speed awakeners. Seeing Su Qingxie again stabbed deep, once childhood friends, now strangers. Her new aura was cold and noble, hope for the squad, but her eyes passed through me like I was nothing. Her 3 teammates hardly bothered to hide their contempt, Zhang Hao's sharp scrutiny, the 2 speed users' naked scorn. Even without words, their rejection was complete and clear. Silently, I moved to stand at the edge of the group. Even in the growing tension, I told myself, no matter what, I would fight to survive, for my mother's sake. A cold system voice echoed, teleporting. The world collapsed into light as dread and destiny yanked my team and me, unwilling, into the heart of the apocalypse fragment. The playground, the sky, even my own body spun away. My consciousness stretched to breaking, swept into the unknown. My real test at last was about to begin. Blinding sunlight seared my eyes, and the air stank of rot. I stood frozen on a cracked street, haunted by ruined towers and thick stains painted across empty city walls. Twisted, skeletal outlines littered the street alongside shattered cars and garbage. This wasteland, was it the apocalypse fragment world they warned about before the test? A holographic screen flickered to life before my eyes, lines of neon commands floating just above the ruined asphalt. So this was a real system interface. I heard Zhang Hao's voice call us to attention. He already acted like the team's boss, eyes scanning for threats while the others glanced around, restless. Wang Chang shot me a scornful glare, muttering, "Dead weight," just loudly enough for it to sting. I felt it, barely tolerated, always the weak link. Li Bin chimed in, echoing old complaints. He'll slow us down. No one hid their doubts. I shrank a little, silent, wishing I could evaporate from their sight. Su Qingxie said nothing. She calmly drew a shining scalpel, her movements clean and practiced, her white uniform spotless, radiating cold competence in this ruined city. Zhang Hao shut the arguments down. Lin Yu, stay behind and don't slow us down. His gaze held only impatience, making it clear I was a burden he never wanted. I nodded, biting my tongue, already used to playing the scapegoat. What was the point of arguing? All I could do was obey for now, swallowing every bitter word. Zhang Hao pointed us to a battered corner store, food and water first, then move out. The others shot forward, showing off their speed, not slowing for anyone. Wang Chang and Li Bin reached the store almost instantly, weaving among toppled trash with impossible speed. Their superhuman agility left me gaping in envy and frustration. I clenched my fist, feeling the cold weight of the rusted machete my role assigned me. Hardly heroic, but it was all I had to protect myself in this nightmare. Chest heaving, I forced myself forward, my stamina bar a cruel joke. Each hurried step burned, but I wouldn't stop. not even as they vanished from view ahead. By the time I staggered up, Wang Qiang and Li Bin were already leaving, plastic bags crammed with loot. Their eyes held only open contempt, like I was less than useless. "Just leave him," Zheng Hao said coldly. They didn't even look back, just vanished down the ruined street, not caring if I made it or not. For a split second, I actually felt relieved. No more looks of scorn, no more shackles. Alone in a danger zone, at least what I found would finally be mine. "Alone, so be it," I whispered, voice steadier than my hands. Now it was survival or death. I had to move, to act, before fear or despair swallowed me whole. Inside, the ransacked shelves held only broken crackers and crushed cans. The others had cleaned out everything useful, but I greedily grabbed every scrap they left behind. My live stream still showed 17 viewers, no friends, just voyeurs watching a loser's slow collapse. I ignored their taunts, my eyes searching for any way to fight fate. Over their cruel jeers, my gaze landed on a jewelry store, its shattered facade oddly untouched. Maybe, just maybe, my luck had finally turned the smallest bit. Shattered glass crunched beneath my boots as I tightened my grip around the firewood axe, my nerves raw and alert with every cautious step into the jewelry store. Broken display cases and glittering debris littered every corner. Yet amidst the chaos, dazzling flecks of gold caught my desperate eye in the dim light. I thought of my mother, her frail body hooked up to machines back in the real world. The chance that even a handful of this gold could buy her precious days. Desire erupted within me, a wild hope blazing as I scrambled through broken cases, stuffing every glittering chain, ring, and bracelet I could find into my pockets. The gold weighed down my pockets and bag, but that heaviness felt like hope. Like maybe, just maybe, I could change something back in my real life. But the mocking laughter from the livestream comments crashed over me. Cruel reality, spelling out how my precious treasure was just worthless trash here. I stared at the system's rules, just a tiny line in the corner, coldly confirming that ordinary loot from this world would be purged with no value at all. Deflated, I emptied my pockets, letting the gold clatter to the floor, every piece that had once meant hope, suddenly nothing but useless weight and shattered dreams. A surge of disappointment left me frozen, time and hope wasted chasing an impossible dream, while the true dangers out there crept closer with every second lost. A sickening, rasping groan from the street snapped me from despair. I shrank involuntarily, heart hammering as I crouched low behind the counter, every muscle taut. Through the jagged window, I counted 3 shriveled, corpse-like figures shuffling stiffly into view, their groans echoing out across the ruined street. The system's cold warning sealed my fate. Dimensional repulsion triggered, every infected thing within 50 meters converging on my fragile life for the next 30 seconds. 3 zombies gathered slowly at the entrance, ashen-skinned, twitching, their vacant eyes sweeping the room as they lingered, groaning, drawn by some sinister force. Desperation clawed at my chest. With this battered axe and my weak limbs, I'd never survive 3 at once. Escape was my only hope if luck held a little longer. Each second was agony. The 3 zombies wandered, sniffing, groaning, yet somehow failed to notice me huddled behind the rotten counter as the danger faded away. When the last one finally stumbled away, I let my muscles relax with a shaky sigh, my back clammy beneath my shirt, grateful to have survived by inches. That was too close, a warning sharper than any knife. Next time might mean death before I even get a chance to fight back, so caution is my only buffer. I forced myself to steady my breathing, whispering, "Calm down, Lin Yu." If I panicked, I'd be as dead as every other body outside this shattered store. No abilities, no team. All I have is this extra soul, a second life's experience, and a logical mind. In this chaos, that's my only chance at survival. What's really valuable here? Weapons? Medicine? Or the so-called origin energy core? But where are they hiding, and what's the next step I should take now? A sharp pain stabbed through my skull, sudden and electric, blinding thought, as if some hidden power or memory demanded to claw free from deep inside me. The abrupt sting in my mind snapped me awake, my body still, but something deep and invisible beginning to stir behind my eyes, unfamiliar and unnerving in its intensity. A strange force seemed to draw a thread of my very consciousness outward, pulling it tight between my eyebrows, an eerie humming sensation unlike any normal headache. Then, before I could blink, the faint blue system screen warped, new icons blossoming beside my old attributes, unfolding around strangely comforting digital radar. It glowed pale green, scanning softly outward in waves from an icon unmistakably centered precisely where I stood, my own presence pulsing in virtual space. Survival radar system bound, authority level 1. Detection range 5 kilometers. Clear digital text appeared, each line filling me with awe. So this was my golden finger. Compared to wild, stumbling luck, I had a true survival map. My heart pounded. This was the spark, the unique chance every transmigrator dreamed of receiving. Suppressing the wild surge inside me, I forced myself to read every detail, only non-living resource points for now, but 5 kilometers was a huge field. Dots of white and faint green flickered across the circle. Food, water, basic weapons, and medical supplies. This was survival's currency written in light. While others would blunder blind through the ruins, I finally held an edge, my own secret treasure map, pulsing softly beneath my skin. I locked onto the nearest white dot, across the street, an apartment's second floor, and with my breathing held, I gripped my fire axe and crept out. The stairwell stank of mold and old blood. Every step sounded too loud in my own ears as I crept upward, careful to barely breathe. At the second floor hallway's end, a door stood ajar, tension buzzing through me as I nudged it open, just enough to scan the gloomy room beyond. No signs of movement, just chaos and ruin, until my eyes caught a sturdy metal baseball bat tucked beside a toppled wardrobe, glowing bright on my radar. I snatched it gratefully, its solid heft, perfect grip, and unyielding weight so much better than any rusty fire axe I'd ever swung before. With this upgrade, I'd stand a real chance against any lone zombie. Relief and confidence flooded my arms from this unexpected find. Instead of rushing on, I waited, leaning back to monitor the radar and gauge just how much of my mental strength this power drained from moment to moment. With the radar just idling, the drain felt negligible, no worse than a half-forgotten pop-up window, humming at the edge of my focus. But when I tried to amplify the radar's focus, zooming into a neighborhood block, a wave of exhaustion instantly threatened to drag my mind under. I steadied myself, warning, use this divine skill sparingly, or burn out fast. Another green dot stood out, a medical cache, as vital as any weapon. The stairwell reeked of blood as I climbed higher, step by cautious step, my fingers tightening on the baseball bat. Danger could be waiting above and I had to be ready. Stepping over a blackened, fallen corpse at the landing, I forced myself not to recoil. The apocalypse shows you horrors, fast, and I couldn't afford to hesitate. The fourth floor felt cleaner, but I was wary. The green dot came from the third room on the left, maybe treasure, maybe death. No way to know without risking everything. Ear pressed against the cold panel, I strained for any hint of life inside. Absolute silence answered back, thick and heavy enough to raise the hair at my neck. Too risky to fumble with the lock. I drew back, kicked the door hard, and heard the wood split. Adrenaline humming, I braced for anything. The battered door crashed open, its lock shredded, and I tightened my hold on the bat. Stillness pressed in, no sign that anyone or anything was waiting. After a long, breathless pause, I edged inside. A simple living room buried in dust and silence. Not a monster in sight, only the green dot shining on my radar. I spotted a first aid kit tucked away and rushed over, my heart pounding with hope at the neat rows of bandages, gauze, antibiotics, all still shining clean and untouched. At the bottom, I uncovered an unopened emergency medical kit, a white rank item, the kind that could mean another chance at life during this city's savage new reality. There was no hesitation. Without these, any wound could mean death. I slung the kit onto my back, feeling a little safer, but knowing this was only a start. I activated the radar again. Hundreds of white dots filled the grid, each a possible cache, but no way could I check them all. I needed a plan to maximize results. Scanning the radar's display, I noticed a massive concentration just across the street, the supermarket. Crowded, dangerous, but the logic of survival was harsh. Where people gather, supplies are thickest. With my bag heavier and the bat ready, I stepped out again. Confidence building, nerves taut. I was no longer just scavenging, but racing for long-term survival. Avoiding danger meant watching more than just the radar. Every bloodstain and overturned car was a clue, each moment a calculation, every step a quiet gamble. 10 minutes later, I reached the shattered entrance of Hualian's supermarket. Glass everywhere, wrecked shelves twisted in the gloom, warning of chaos deeper inside. Inside, ruin overwhelmed the senses. The stink of rot nearly choked me, food spilled and mashed into black puddles, every sound a possible threat lurking unseen. Pushing through wreckage, I let the radar steer me toward the storage room. Here at last, the supply jackpot waited. Biscuits, water, and stacks of gleaming canned food. For a heartbeat I just stared. Mountains of beef cans, rows of water bottles, food enough to dream of security. But reality bit back. My pack wasn't bottomless. Rationing hard decisions, my backpack could only hold so much. I set aside biscuits and water, marking the location deep in memory for desperate days ahead. Just as I reactivated the radar, something strange flashed near the edge, a golden dot, pulsing for an instant before vanishing. It left my mind racing with new possibilities. A golden flicker flashed, a color I'd never seen on the survival radar before. Was it real? My heart skipped, curiosity and disbelief tangling together in my chest. Pouring my entire mind into the radar, I felt a crushing fatigue hit. This scan was far more draining than before, each second costing more strength than I expected. There it was, where the faint flash had been, an impossibly bright golden dot, hovering at the outskirts of the city on my radar's edge, its glow eclipsing all others. Golden, something no one ever mentioned in rules or records. The color almost felt mythic, hinting at treasures that could rewrite my fate in this nightmare world. The urge to go burned through my fear. If there was a one-of-a-kind supply here, how could I not gamble everything, no matter how dangerous it looked from afar? My mind replayed my mother's fragile face. Her life was on the line. I had no choice. Cowardice meant a slow death, but boldness might save us both in the end. Grabbing only the most basic rations, 2 compressed biscuits, and a couple of water bottles, I shoved them into my backpack, every movement urgent and deliberate. Without glancing back at the abandoned supermarket shelves, I strode out, resolve blazing, each step drawing me closer to whatever destiny that golden spot promised me. Outside, the city looked even gloomier, skies drained of hope, shadows twisting down every alley. I checked my bearings and began my trek northeast, golden target fixed in mind. Most of my attention was forced into the radar, adjusting course bit by bit. Avoiding main roads, I slipped between alleys and backlots, a rabbit under constant threat. Slowly, the route grew more twisted and complicated, but cover was better. Every blind turn traded time for a new chance to dodge whatever else might be hunting me. The constant strain gnawed at me, my mental energy slipping away the harder I focused. My head throbbed, vision smeared at the edges. I had to rest or risk collapsing. Dry-mouthed and anxious, I fumbled for water, each gulp clearing just enough fog to keep pushing. Anxiety and anticipation clawed at me in equal measure. The echoing nearly froze my blood. Familiar sickly growls crept in from the alley mouth, snaring my senses and snapping me straight to survival mode. Only one zombie, alone but horribly real. My grip on the bat tightened almost painfully, every nerve ready to snap or swing as that monster locked its empty gaze onto me. No way out. My mind flashed with desperate memories. Mother's weak smile, the golden dots glow. This was my new test. Face death head on, or lose all hope right here. The zombie lunged, dead throat growling. It was hideous, half its jaw gone, bone shining through. Each shambling step was a nightmare summoned new, one I couldn't run from. Heart pounding, I darted past, luring it straight toward the scattered paint cans. In terror's grip, my mind sharpened. I'd only get one shot at this trick. At just the right instant, I feinted aside. The zombie's inertia carrying it tumbling into the junk, crashing hard enough to shake the ground right beside me. Now, channeling every ounce of fear into action, I raised my bat over my head and smashed down at the monster's exposed skull, ending my first solo battle in one shattering blow. My arms shook with strain as the heavy bat connected, bone crunched, and black blood spattered across the concrete. The zombie twitched, then slumped, finally utterly dead. Hands trembling despite my victory, I forced in ragged breaths, my chest burning. I'd done it, killed a zombie alone, with nothing but my fear and luck to guide me through. After a quick rest, I steadied myself and checked my radar. The golden mark was still shining somewhere distant. Step by step, bruised but emboldened, I set out toward destiny. By the time I reached the ruined bank, exhaustion hammered my skull. Seeing the twisted alloy doors, I knew something monstrous had torn them open. Nothing human could wreck that. Inside, I recoiled. Strewn corpses weren't simple zombies but grotesque, mutated wrecks. Had scavengers fought monsters here too? My gut warned. Whatever claimed this place wasn't gone. The golden marker pulsed somewhere deep below. I muttered, of course it wouldn't be easy. If anyone found the treasure, they probably never made it back out to tell anyone else. Circling the bank perimeter, I finally found a collapsed wall, hidden beside debris. A tight ventilation shaft led down. Maybe it'd be small enough for me, if I held my breath and squeezed. Hiding my backpack and medkit, I slid the knife in my pocket and gripped my bat tight, inching into pitch-black passageway. The shaft stank of rust, dust, and memories of things best left unspoken. After what felt like forever, my numb limbs reached metal grating. A silver glow trickled through. Peering down, I saw a trash security zone, and at the heart, that monstrous, scarred vault door. With heart pounding, I steadied myself, wrenched open the grate, and dropped down silent as a mouse. The vault door's jagged edge looked freshly marred, warning me. Something powerful tore through. Every step closer, the golden pulse on my radar brightened, almost blinding. The massive round door hung ajar. Inside, emptiness and broken safes greeted me, all ransacked except a single pedestal. On that pedestal, a jet-black pouch shimmered, a gold-grated spatial backpack. I stared, barely breathing, holding something priceless in my hands. Its warmth hinted at secrets far greater than gold. Gold radiance filled my vision, woven from dimensional silk, a real subspace bag. My palm tingled as I mentally imprinted my mark. Finally, a heaven-sent miracle. Beside the bag, a metal case held 3 syringes, red, green, blue, all basic enhancement serums. Stat boosts, permanent? My mind reeled as I popped open the tiny kit in disbelief. Without hesitation, I jammed the blue stamina serum into my arm, Warmth rushed through every vein, energy burst in, sweeping away the ache of exhaustion with sheer glorious vitality I'd forgotten. Checking my status, I watched my stamina soar, 10, then 11. Health status brightened from suboptimal to healthy. That single injection cured more pain than months of rest ever could. Fighting the tremor of greed and hope, I injected the other two, red for strength, green for agility. Sharp power rippled through muscle and bone, awakening sensations I'd never felt before. In that instant, my entire body flushed with heat. Strength, agility, stamina, now above 11. I nearly laughed out loud, unable to contain relief and joy for the future I might now shape. Even without powers, my new stats matched early awakeners. If anyone saw, they'd kill to take what I'd found. The only choice: vanish offline, keep every secret locked inside myself. After stowing treasure within the blood-bound pouch, I let out a careful breath. But suddenly, a crimson warning sliced through my vision. Something new, and deadly, was about to begin. As soon as I saw the message about the curse, the initial thrill of my find turned to dread. My exact coordinates would be broadcast to everyone alive in this world. Frozen, I catch the survivor count, 987. Soon, every one of them will see my coordinates, making me the world's #1 target overnight. Panic rising, I realize, taking the golden spatial backpack came at a cost. Now I'm branded prey in a never-ending hunt, with no way to shake this curse loose. Adrenaline surges as I check the countdown. 10 hours to escape, but only 1 hour left before everyone converges on my exposed position, like wolves scenting blood. Fighting panic, I force myself to prepare, stuffing all old syringes and the small metal box into the spatial backpack, determined to leave no sign behind. With a breath, resolve hardens within me. The curse might mark me, but the spatial backpack gives me a chance to loot more in 1 hour than anyone else here. I tear myself away from the vault, retracing my route through the vent shaft, mind racing with how to exploit this 1 hour head start before the storm hits. Outside, I recover my medical kit and stashed gear, stowing it all in the backpack with a thought. For the first time, I feel what true freedom of movement really is. No more dead weight. Now, as light as air, I can run and scale debris faster than ever, loaded with more supplies than anyone else on the run. Radar on full, clusters of white and green signals beckon ahead. If I hurry, I can loot crucial resources before the first broadcast goes out, and danger swarms in. Locking my target, the city hospital, its halls swarming with the most resource signals anywhere nearby. It's a hive of supplies, and surely swarming dangers. I force down the unease. A mix of bleach, metal, and blood hangs thick in the air. But with each step inside, confidence builds. My stats and gear have changed everything. With the radar at maximum, all the green dots on my map flare up. Hundreds of resources clustered floor by floor, every single one mine for the taking if I'm fast enough. First floor, pharmacy. My heart hammers as I break inside, scanning rows of untouched medicine and life-saving drugs that could buy survival for many days. Temptation breaks my restraint. I sweep every marked drug into the backpack. Military painkillers, broad-spectrum antibiotics, adrenaline. They're more precious than gold right now. In less than 2 minutes, I pick the place clean, loot bag swelling, not a single green signal left in the pharmacy, my pulse still pounding from the rush. No pause. Up the stairs, I sweep through operating rooms and labs, claiming scalpels, sutures, rare anesthetics. Not everything is for me, but the value is undeniable. Bags 1/3 full, the weight means nothing. With every floor I loot, I edge closer to escape, but danger might be even closer than I thought. Suddenly, a blip vanishes from the radar below. Someone else is here. My chest constricts, realizing this silent threat is moving fast and close, just as my guard was down. I freeze in place, brain whirling. White dots don't just vanish. Someone else is looting this hospital too. Risk just morphed into a deadly, unseen race for survival. Someone's coming. My heartbeat slows instead of racing. I slip away from the looting and press deeper into shadow, every sense sharpening for the unknown that follows. Peeking from the curtain's edge, I watch 3 strangers enter through shattered glass, clutching battered weapons and sweeping the ruined hospital lobby in cautious, hungry formation. The radar confirms their location, 3 white dots staying together below me. I plot my options in silence, letting my advantage of knowledge and patience do all the work. I knock over a tin tray on purpose, then melt into deeper cover. The clang ripples through the halls, bait for desperate, greedy scavengers sniffing out hope. Footsteps shuffle below. Let's check it out. The strangers fall for the trap. I slip down the opposite staircase, my heart pounding in perfect time with my soft, cautious steps. While they clump together upstairs, I loot the final untouched supply, an emergency kit stuffed in a drawer, never missing a chance to stock up while my radar keeps me safe. By the time curses echo from the upper floor, I vanish from the hospital's shadow, slipping down deserted streets. Leading scavengers on a fruitless ghost chase fuels a wicked satisfaction inside me. Just how much can be done with information alone? Sometimes this radar is more exhilarating than any blade, turning hunters into pawns with a single misleading signal. On the countdown, less than 20 minutes to the broadcast. I need every second. Planning routes with radar, I race on, prepping myself for whatever hell the announcement will bring. I make for an outdoor equipment store. Real survival isn't just fights, it's tools. I raid the shelves, filling my backpack with anything remotely useful. Rope, filter, fire starter, even a hardy spade. One tool after another, digging spade, solid rope, water filter, compass, flint. My pack gets heavier, but so does my confidence. I can survive apocalypse, I can outlast anyone. No time to revel, trouble waits by the exit. My first unavoidable battle comes barreling toward me in the form of two dead-eyed infected, blocking the only way out. With a surge, I inject enhancement serum, muscles burn electric. I yank out my baseball bat, no running this time. I'll take the fight to them, on my own terms. The left infected lunges first, reek of rot, teeth bared. I sidestep right, swing hard with all my weight and intention, and feel a sick crunch as metal bat meets ruined kneecap. As it falls, I double down, both hands, full force, smashing the skull from behind. The wet thud and spatter are proof, one down, fast and without mercy. The other infected barely blinks. I duck left and whip the bat at its temple, bone fracturing with one brutal blow. My new power pulses through me with every heartbeat. Both bodies twitch at my feet, and for a breath, I just stare. 11 strength and agility points. Who could have imagined I'd slay monsters like this, all in under 10 seconds? I eye the countdown, just over a minute, no time for fear, only action. Now or never. I need high ground, sight lines, and one staircase between me and everyone else. The rooftop, my castle. No hesitation, I bound up 6 flights, every step purposeful, jaw set in resolution. I'll meet whatever comes with open eyes and raised fists. From the rooftop edge, cold wind whips away my exhaustion. I scan the dead city stretched below, one silent predator waiting while the world holds its breath for the broadcast to begin. A harsh, mechanical broadcast explodes in my mind. Global broadcast, highest value item holder coordinates. The city's deadly stillness shatters, and I realize the hunt has truly begun. Around the city, nearly 1,000 desperate scavengers freeze. Their eyes widen at the interface. The coordinates blaze like a bloody lighthouse, now marking me as prey. The floodgates open, confusion, disbelief, then a greedy, feverish hunger erupts among the survivors. Now it's a citywide shark tank, and I've just bled in the water. From the west end, a squad in sleek combat gear appears. The leader, a tall man hefting a firefighter's axe, moves with the calculating confidence of a real predator. From the southeast, a blur of motion. Another squad, led by a short-haired girl whose movements outpace even my own, slips between cars with seamless agility. From my vantage, I study the first 2 rival squads. Better armed, better organized than the average scavenger. One mistake against them, and I won't get a second chance. Both squads face each other warily by my ground floor entrance. Alliance or ambush hangs between them, each wanting my golden loot but nobody eager to be the first to brawl. Taunts and threats pass between leaders, axe rolling in his palm, her eyes narrowed and sharp. The tension's real. One wrong move and carnage erupts before I lift a finger. High above, I listen, every word drifting clearly on the wind. A frontal fight? Not a chance. Surrounded, outgunned, bullets can't save me from 2 coordinated squads at once. With a deep breath, I force my nerves calm and scan the distant street, shambling, infected, aimless, too few to threaten my enemies. I need much more chaos to tip the scale. A plan snaps together, silent, risky, but my only shot. I call up a squat red beef can from my backpack and weigh it in my palm, eyes flicking to the city wind. Muscles taut with focus, I wind up, every ounce of my boosted strength flows into the throw. Target, overturned red car, 70 meters, perfect for mischief without exposing myself. The beef can whistles through the dusk, slicing a high parabola overhead. Glass explodes, my message flies true, smashing straight through the window of a distant compact car. The attackers freeze, startled. Both squads look skyward, confusion and wariness sharing glances. But my attack isn't for them. The real chaos is only just beginning. Metal begets madness, a guttural chorus rises. The city's infected turn as one, wild-eyed, pouring from alleys drawn by hellish noise toward my 6 would-be predators. I watch, heart pounding. A tidal wave of zombies barrels toward the elite invaders. Predators become prey in an instant, and I alone remain hidden, the true ghost in their maze. Confusion is instantly replaced by panic. Both squad leaders shout as the undead flood the block. Their careful plans crash. Now survival is all that's left to split between them. A single move has thrown the board into chaos. My golden bait did its job. Now every hunter in the city will come running, all while I vanish into the storm. The distant clang of the fireman's axe snapped me out of my reverie. I watched him rally his teammates, voice booming with authority as he readied them for the incoming undead swarm. Orders crackled through the night. Archers on the roof. Focus the fast ones. Crowbar, front line with me. Their formation shifted, everyone scrambling into well-practiced positions. On the other side, the short-haired girl's voice cut sharp and cold through the chaos. She herded her speed-type partners into motion, prioritizing evasion over a direct clash. Both teams clashed with the undead in totally different styles. One group armored up and brute-forced the horde, while the other wove circles around them like specters. Observing from above, I mentally compared their strengths. The equipment team battled with brute force and defense. The speed team practically vanished whenever zombies closed in. I gripped the climbing rope inside my spatial backpack, heart pounding, not fear but anticipation. I never meant to stay and fight these people. Escape was always the real plan. Working fast, I looped the climbing rope around a concrete duct and yanked it tight, double-checking the knot for safety. The rooftop's rear side opened toward a silent alley below. With battle noise masking my movements, I tossed the rope down, bracing myself at the edge. One silent breath and I kicked off, starting a swift descent into the unknown. 12 meters in seconds, I landed softly in the darkness, muscles taut and senses sharp. Tools and skills from past days blended into something altogether new within my mind. Without a sound, I snapped open my entrenching tool and sheared the rope clean near ground level. A final, decisive break with my pursuers above. One last glance upward at the severed rope, then I melted into the maze of alleyways, erasing all trace of myself. This phase required neither nostalgia nor mercy, only absolute resolve. Back on the street, both teams fought through the last waves. Bodies of dozens of zombies sprawled bloody and broken around them, yet every single survivor bore some new wound. The Fire Axeman's anger exploded. He stomped a flailing zombie's head to mush, then spat blood and curses at the rooftop. That bastard escaped while we were fighting. At her teammate's grazed arm, the short-haired girl's eyes narrowed. She hid her worry behind a cold order. Upstairs, careful, this one isn't ordinary. 6 tense figures advanced through the deserted halls, nerves wound tight as tripwire, footsteps echoing up to the rooftop, in a hunt that felt more desperate than victorious. Wind howled across the empty rooftop. They found nothing, only chilling evidence that their quarry had slipped their net without a trace or hesitation, gone like a shadow. Frantic searching began. Soon the archer's shout rang out. They'd found the severed rope at the back ledge, the only clue to my silent, surgical escape. As the truth sank in, rage exploded from the Fire Axeman. He punched the metal railing with force that left it warping. A wordless howl ripped from deep in his chest. The short-haired girl didn't rage. She stared long at the rope, thoughts running cold and deep. She knew this golden item holder was playing a more dangerous game than any of them guessed. This opponent defied every expectation, using their own ambitions against them, manipulating the hunters like chess pieces. The cold promise in her eyes was unmistakable. This wasn't over. Before leaving, she declared, "This debt will be repaid." Her words echoed. The 2 survivor squads trudged away, angry, defeated, and more determined to find me next time. All that effort, all that ammunition and pain. In the end, I'd left them nothing. No glory, no loot, only humiliation and the bitter taste of a failed hunt. My legs burned as I finally left chaos behind. In the growing silence, breathing harsh and uneven, I pressed a shaking hand to frigid concrete, heart thundering in my chest. As I steadied myself, I realized the first confrontation was over, a clean, decisive victory secured. I'd survived, but something far worse loomed, tightening with every breath. I couldn't deny the looming curse of the treasure. 50 minutes until the next broadcast. Each countdown summoned new predators. Every breath, a reminder of the inevitable hunt. Every round, my enemies would multiply, adapting and closing in. Running forever was a fool's hope. Eventually fatigue or luck would fail, and I'd become cornered prey. Muttering to myself, I realized the only way forward, I couldn't be the hunted any longer. Instead, I'd flip the game. If they wanted prey, I'd become the hunter. A daring plan sharpened in my mind, a reckless shift from fugitive to predator. My greatest weapon wasn't strength, but the unseen edge my survival radar system gave me. Studying blue and red blips scattered across the map, I realized this asymmetric knowledge let me scheme while others groped blindly. Each dot, a thread in the trap I'd weave. They were no longer just searching for me. I would become the ghost in the wires, luring them into their own demise. The next coordinate broadcast would be their undoing. I began scanning every resource point within a 5-kilometer radius, intent on finding a site no scavenger could ignore, somewhere both tantalizing and lethal. The blueprint for massacre. A building in the northwest sector caught my attention. Multiple blue indicators clustered there. Blue dots meant weapons. In this world, even one pistol could change fate. Police station. My lips curled as I whispered. The promise of guns guaranteed a stampede. But a station was also a slaughterhouse. Zombies congregated there like flies around old blood. During the onset, these halls ran crimson with horror. Inside, the infected would be fierce, no slow wanderers here. Danger was precisely what made it the perfect trap. Once the route solidified in my mind, I wasted no time. Moving before the next broadcast was my only chance to control the battlefield before the scavengers even arrived. The trek stretched across half the city. I wove through alleys, ducked into abandoned interiors, always veering away from growing herds hungry for flesh. Stealth was my only ally. 3 attributes at 11 points each lent me almost superhuman stamina and reflexes. I blurred past danger, heart thrumming at the edge of adrenaline-soaked exhaustion. This was survival. Eventually, my destination surged into view, a monolithic building clad in stained white, scarred by bullet and claw alike. Municipal police headquarters, both sanctuary and execution ground. I didn't charge in. Instead, I mapped the perimeter. Iron bars sealed every window, side doors welded shut. Only the battered main entrance gaped open, like jaws waiting for prey. Radar revealed the prize in the basement armory. One blue dot burned beneath the rest. But the lobby thrummed with predator energy, danger radiating from tightly clustered readings. Concealed and hungry, I drew water and biscuits from my spatial backpack. The multi-purpose entrenching tool replaced my baseball bat. I would need cold steel for what waited inside. With supplies replenished and nerves hardened, I rose, entrenching tool gripped tight. One last look at the open doors, then I melted inside, ready to reshape the rules. Light sliced through smashed windows, painting haunted shadows across the ransacked police lobby. I moved like a ghost, senses stretched thin for the faintest hint of danger. Every overturned desk and spatter of blood warned me. One wrong breath, and I'd join the corpses. A low growl shivered from behind the shattered counter, instantly locking my muscles. The stench of blood thickened. Out lurched a hulking zombie cop, broader than any infected I'd faced. Its heavy steps pounded, vest straining over swollen muscle and ragged blue. I didn't wait. The instant its hollow eyes locked onto me, I surged forward, refusing open combat. Instead, I ducked low, sliding fast along the wall to strike its flank. Steel bit bone. A sickening crunch. Its legs snapped, sending the huge corpse tumbling down. I pressed the attack, slamming the entrenching tool's point through the thick undead neck. Before my breath returned, more pounding feet echoed. Another 2 cop-infected surged out, uniforms stained, feral eyes fixed on me. Even for me, this was pushing my luck. Racing to a thick pillar, I dragged both monsters in circles, each mindlessly splitting from the other. Survival was all about exploiting every blind spot, even your own. Heart hammering, I lunged. The moment one zombie lost sight, I blitzed its partner. Shovel slammed a knee, then another brutal follow-through. Bone shattered, body fell limp. Before it could rise, I buried the blade. One down, one left. The final cop zombie never understood my trap. All it got was a finishing stab through the throat. By the time the last body hit the floor, sweat stung my eyes, and every muscle burned. Even boosted, 3 of those monsters left me half broken. Worse was surely coming. No time to linger. The radar pulsed, the stairway to the basement within range. I forced myself up and crept for the descent, every step alert and aching. Basement air hit me like rotting cloth, filthy, thick, impossible to breathe. At the corridor's end, a metal door blazed armory in red paint, beckoning with silent promise. Locked. No serious barrier. Reaching into my spatial backpack, I produced my trusty crowbar, metal cold against my palm. I jammed it into the keyhole and readied my stance. A brutal wrench, metal screamed. The crosslock snapped. Underneath sweat and grime, adrenaline burned wild. I shoved the ruined lock free and braced to face whatever waited inside. The smell of gun oil washed over me. Shelf after shelf overflowed with pistols, shotguns, even submachine guns. Rows of blue glinting weapons and bulging ammo cases glittered in shadow. My heart thundered as I picked up a cold, heavy Type 92 pistol. A weapon finally worthy, solid, official, and familiar, fitting my grip as if I'd never left the range. Old training resurfaced, swap mags, lock slide, check chamber. With 4 spares and a police stab-proof vest under my clothes, I was more ready now than ever before. I repacked my spatial backpack, maximizing weapon and ammo slots, sacrificing some food for firepower. That armored vest wasn't perfect, but felt like a crucial second skin. Loaded, masked, and feeling the weight of real firepower, I steeled myself. The armory had delivered. Now every breath, every step was a gamble I intended to win. Locked and loaded, wearing my new vest, I felt destiny shiver under my grip. The world seemed sharper now, like the city itself, bowed to my control. Suppressing my thrill, I moved to phase 2, setting the trap. My eyes ran over racks of weapons, already plotting the perfect allure for greedy hunters. First rule, never leave emptiness. If I stripped everything, the scavengers would leave early, chasing my trail. To snare them, I had to leave just enough hope. 3 handguns, a shotgun, and magazines strewn carefully under the fluorescent glare, enough to drive desperate men mad, but never enough to satisfy them all. My handiwork sparkled with temptation. Enough bait to guarantee chaos. The scene practically dripped with obsessions ready to combust the moment I slipped away. I left the armory, nerves humming with anticipation. Downstairs, I hauled chairs and heavy cabinets to barricade every side door, forcing intruders through a killer choke point. At the entrance, I swept aside debris, not to help but to funnel panic. The only way in or out now funneled through one narrow, deadly corridor I'd engineered. I thumbed open my interface. 4 minutes until the next broadcast, then the world would stampede for my trap. My pulse echoed the countdown's cold rhythm. Broadcast blinked. New coordinates, right atop my kill zone. My heart steadied. This was the opening move in my masterpiece. With barely a hesitation, I hauled up my climbing rope and slipped through a second-floor vent, vanishing into the breathless city darkness. Soon I found my perch, a rooftop 300 meters away, perfectly angled for a front-row seat to the carnage. All I had to do was watch the chaos bloom. Within minutes, the city's mood shifted. Shouted voices carried on the wind. The promise of guns whipped everyone into a desperate, frenzied race. Adrenaline crashed through me as the first gunshots rang out, a staccato rhythm of greed and violence echoing from my carefully laid snare. Gunfire, curses, shrieks, and the rising wails of the undead bled together, a savage symphony bursting over my chessboard as planned. Settling into my role as observer, I flicked on my radar. My eyes tracked blue dots, each weapon's cache claimed, each blip another body at stake. Each vanishing dot meant another skirmish, another winner, briefly. Sometimes a gun flashed up elsewhere, then winked out again, as if death itself made the next move. My trap worked perfectly. The station became a meat grinder. Survivors ripped each other apart as zombies pressed closer, carnage blooming exactly where I wanted. Numbers in my interface kept falling. 9 and 12, 8 and 75, 8 and 31. The raw count of souls fed to my design, all for a handful of brass and the illusion of hope. I shivered. Without so much as a single shot, I'd butchered more lives tonight than a firing squad ever could. This world's truest killer was information. And that night, I understood. True power wasn't in the gun I carried, but in the fear and chaos my bait unleashed. The rest would play my game or die trying. The echoes of gunfire finally faded, leaving only eerie silence in the city. I knew the carnage I'd orchestrated at the police station was finished, just as planned. As the survivors scattered, hardened by bloodshed, a chilling clarity crept in. The game ahead would be even deadlier and more unpredictable for all of us. My only edge was speed, getting to the next goal before anyone else. When the system's broadcast crackled, I was already hidden near the refreshed coordinates. Settling in a dark clothing store, I used my radar to survey the area, ready to repeat my bait and vanish trick as soon as the chaos broke loose below. But then a faint, mechanical buzzing broke the stillness, a sound that made my heart lurch. Instinct forced my gaze upward before I could stop myself. In that instant, I recognized the telltale design, a micro-drone humming like a hummingbird, a scout ability. Old friends had found me. 4 shadows appeared at the mall entry, familiar faces in unfamiliar roles. Su Qingxie, Zhang Hao, Wang Qiang, and Li Bin, my old group, hunting for clues and rivals. Through the glass, I heard Li Bin's scorn, Wang Qiang's mocking, and saw Zhang Hao's wary calculation. Their arrogance almost a comfort, so little had changed outwardly. Su Qingshui's eyes swept the 3rd floor, her calm sharpness as chilling as ever. I pressed farther back into shadow, heart racing as they closed in. Escape would make me look guilty. I forced my breathing steady, then slipped from hiding, face painted with perfectly staged panic and helpless confusion. At the 3rd floor escalator, we confronted one another. Zhang Hao feigned shock, but his suspicious gaze gave away the true calculation behind his words. I let my voice tremble and stutter. I've been hiding, it's too scary outside. Selling my role as the terrified luck-ridden scavenger to perfection. Su Qingxie studied me, her eyes searching for what the apocalypse had changed. I saw fatigue on her face, but colder too, as if there'd always be distance. They asked about the system broadcast, pressing for news on the chosen one. I played dumb, spinning a story of fear and ignorance that matched every assumption they held. I painted myself as harmless and small. Su Qingxie, perhaps pricked by guilt, handed me bottled water and food with a flat, practiced detachment. Her voice held concern but also cold distance. Parting words for someone left behind. Evacuation will be near city center. Hide and get there fast when it opens. The pity in her words stung more than any blade. I muttered thanks, my accent barely audible. Charity felt like a collar after abandonment. They lost interest, more irritated by my weakness than moved by it. Not once did anyone invite me to join them. I watched them vanish down the opposite corridor. Alone again, I allowed the mask to drop. The fear and cowardice melted into calm, my path diverging from theirs for good, burdened but not broken. Staring at the meager gifts, I smiled to myself, grim and amused, then tucked them away in my spatial backpack, resolving to walk a very different road from now on. My steps echoed through the deserted mall, no longer following, no longer begging for a place. I turned away from their retreat, determined to carve my own future. Walking alone through the mall, my footsteps echoed in the silence, each step stirring up the aftermath of my brief encounter with Su Qingshui's team. It gnawed at my thoughts. I kept replaying Wang Chang's disdain, Li Bin's mockery, Zhang Hao's scrutiny, and Su Qingshui's distant kindness, memories slicing through the quiet like broken glass beneath my heels. Once, Su Qingshui and I shared everything. Unbreakable partners before ruin and sacrifice turned even kindness between us into the sharpest wound I'd ever felt. Receiving that bottle and energy bar splintered something inside. I realized what they pierced wasn't hunger, but the last stubborn thread of my own dignity. I didn't want pity or charity. What I hungered for was the strength to survive this hell and soar higher than the ones who ever dared look down on me. That obsession burned in my chest like wildfire. It was my purpose now. Cure Mom, amass credits, and leave every doubter choking in my dust, forever behind. No more waiting for the broadcast. I took action, flicking on the radar to systematically sweep every inch of the shopping mall for any overlooked salvation. Most supplies here were long stripped by desperate hands, but I learned to pay attention. The smallest forgotten corner sometimes holds a treasure worth risking everything for. Hidden in the warehouse, I uncovered a proper military tactical backpack. Even with a spatial bag, having this proved smart for disguise and quick access on the run. In the pharmacy's secret compartment, I scored potent military painkillers and a vial of adrenaline, tiny bottles that could decide life or death at my lowest point. Every last scrap of value in this forsaken mall would now serve only me. I left nothing behind. Every aisle erased, every shelf swept clean of hope for rivals. The fourth coordinate broadcast shattered the quiet. This time, I abandoned deception for direct brutality, a change in tactics as sharp as a blade's edge. Before the hunters even reached the cinema, I yanked the fire alarm. Its shrill agony lured every zombie on the block like moths drawn straight into my trap. A heartbeat later, I slipped through the ventilation ducts, gone before chaos erupted, leaving only carnage and a horde snapping hungrily at my rival's heels. The trap snapped shut. Hunters reached the cinema, only to be hemmed in by shrieking zombies. I watched from afar, mind cold and heart utterly unmoved. Days blurred into chases and narrow escapes, every clash sharpening the legend. Soon, even hearing golden phantoms and enemies trembling in the shadows I left behind. 12 hours since we entered this nightmare, then a huge green glow signaled the halfway mark, and the system announced new evacuation points and a surge to come. Evacuation Point A, the crown of the sky skyscraper, a fortress with a view. Good if you're inside, doomed if the horde or a rival closes every exit behind you. Evacuation Point C, subway hub. So many tunnels, maze-like, uncertain, easy place to hide or get buried out of options if the surge or a blockade traps you inside. Point B, the cross-sea bridge. Exposed, nowhere to hide. Only the desperate or the mad would gamble everything there. But something nagged at me as I zoomed in. As I examined the map, my pupils narrowed. A surge of possibility ricocheted down my spine. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way only I could see. Along the only route to the B Point cross-sea bridge, my radar flickered. A faint, noble purple dot pulsed in the ruins, whispering promises of untold power. When that noble purple shimmer appeared, my heart skipped, a rare, almost mythical item tier. White for basics, green for meds, blue for weapons. But purple? The only thing ever close was my golden spatial backpack. But this purple? This could be a skill book, an enhancement potion, or some world-altering curio. Heat surged from my core, sweeping away hesitation. Go or not? The decision was monumental. Do I extract safely, or risk it all for power that could change my fate? The odds of successful extraction were high if I played it safe. My weapons, radar, and skills gave me a clear edge. But the purple's allure deafened reason. I remembered my mother, weak on her hospital bed, the sneers of Su Qingshui's squad. Survival alone wasn't enough. I needed to outgrow everyone. Fast. Fortune favors the bold. I'd taken unbelievable risks for my backpack. There would be no backing down here. For a purple tier, I'd brazen this military fortress. Decision made, my mind was steel. I adjusted my course, sprinting at my limit toward the forbidden zone, every second now literal survival. The military base lay at the city's edge, 4 kilometers of crumbling war zone between me and everything I wanted. There was no room for mistakes or regret. Timing was life or death. I had to grab the purple and cross the bridge before final outbreak. Pushing limits was the only way forward. I darted like a leopard, agile and invisible, weaving through ruins, every muscle tuned to violence. Every sense hunting the promise of purple fortune. Along my route I passed other desperate players, all headed for extraction. But my eyes stayed on my mission, my radar, my ever-approaching purple mark. With a few last detours and radar warnings, I slipped through the gauntlet. Soon I shook off even the most persistent pursuers. Nothing would stop me now. My destination loomed, a vast compound ringed by barbed wire and battered concrete, rusted army signs torn by time and horror. This was my battlefield. The smell was different here, thicker, older, death layered on death. Even the ruined trucks and charred armor radiated dread. Something here was ready to kill. I steered clear of the main gate, circling for a weak point. Finally, I found a breach, bomb-blasted and jagged, darkness pooling on the inside. Roar! The air split, a power-packed roar erupted near the parade ground. I froze. Over 2 meters tall, a mutant in camo pants dragging a concrete pole prowled ahead. The mutant's flesh was bluish-black, swollen with killer power. The purple blip hovered behind it, inside a battered command building. I'd have to go through or around. Facing this mutant brute, I knew. One blow and I'm pulp, vest or not. The only options: hunt, elude, or gamble, everything for the purple prize and maybe my life. That massive brute towered before me, sweat stinging my eyes as I weighed my odds with the Type 92 pistol, knowing a shot would bring every abomination to my doorstep. Every instinct screamed to shoot, but I clenched my jaw. This was one enemy bullets might not even slow, and getting swarmed would spell my end. I needed something smarter. My gaze darted across the training field. Abandoned vehicles, barbed wire, high walls, scattered barriers. Somewhere in this chaos, there had to be a way past that monster. Fumbling in my spatial backpack, I dug out an empty glass bottle. Just some scavenged junk until now. My nerves tingled as the plan in my head snapped into focus. Muscles coiled, I checked my angle and let the bottle fly with everything I had, targeting a patch of concrete well away from both the monster and my real goal. Glass erupted with a satisfying shatter. Instantly, the big one's head snapped toward the noise, guttural growls trembling the air as it abandoned its makeshift club. Holding my breath, I watched as the brute heaved the broken pole aside, then barreled off in the opposite direction. My decoy had worked, at least for this heartbeat. My chance, like an arrow loosed, I sprinted flat out for the command building, every nerve screaming as the pounding of my feet nearly matched my racing pulse. 10 meters from safety, a sudden chill shot down my spine. Behind me, the mutant's blind sockets whipped in my direction, and my stomach dropped into my shoes. A roar like a thunderclap shattered the air. My ears rang, sanity ripped away by pure primal fury as the beast thundered after me, faster and angrier than anything so big should move. My brain switched from fear to calculation. I veered hard, sprinting for the obstacle course, betting my life that old training barriers could slow down this rampaging beast. I weaved and dodged through barbed wire and spiked barricades, agility pushing past its limits. Meanwhile, the brute smashed straight ahead, splintering wood and metal in a berserk chase. Each smashed barrier bought me precious seconds. With a last burst, I doubled back, sprinting hard for the command building's doors, before the monster tore loose from the debris. Stumbling inside, I vaulted up the stairs 2 steps at a time. Below, the mutant jammed itself in the doorway, howling as it battered frame and walls with mindless fury. Relief crashed over me as I climbed toward the 3rd floor, safe for now, lungs blazing, shirt glued to my back from sweat. I couldn't rest, not with the radar's prize within reach. No time for subtlety. I smashed the command office door open using my entrenching tool. Inside, an eerie shape waited, wrapped in faded uniform, slumped at a redwood desk. Splayed before the mummified officer, a small ancient book pulsed with purple light, a treasure that could turn the tide. My heartbeat thudded twice as loud as I snatched it up. Skillbook, Basic Combat Mastery. Purple grade loot. I selected Use, heart pounding, as luminous violet surged from the tome and seared into my mind in a flood of battle memory. It hit me. Instinctive mastery of every basic melee weapon. As I gripped my entrenching tool, my posture, breathing, even how I choked up on the hilt had changed. All at once, my body moved as if fighting was second nature. Muscle memory guiding me, every inch honed for survival. I'd gone from lucky rat to a true hunter. A ground-shaking crash from below snapped me out of my reverie. The power mutie had smashed its way inside, hunting for the liar who dared trick it. The force of the explosion nearly deafened me as the command center's door burst apart, splinters and debris flying as the brute finally broke its way in. Raging for my blood, every floorboard shuddered beneath its approach, a monstrous wall of muscle, stomping closer as I steadied myself, my pulse pounding but my mind painfully clear and cold. Absorbing that purple skill book, I felt my vision crack open. Combat instinct, grip, angles, energy, all the secrets of a master's hands suddenly flooding my head at once. Every muscle moved on its own. I crouched low, my posture perfect. The blade of the entrenching tool held effortlessly, my center balanced to strike or defend without thought. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs toward me. Escape? Impossible now. For better or worse, my fight was to the death here, against a monster no ordinary human could outrun. Its roar shook the corridor. Before fear could seep in, I kicked the desk, letting it screech and grind sideways, barricading the office moments before the monster collided. Splinters flew as the desk broke under its charge, a fleeting, perfect opening. Guided by practice I never earned, I darted low, flanking the beast in a single breath. Its arm was a sledgehammer, one hit would have crushed me, but now every flaw in its movement flared like a beacon. Combat mastery, let me see what brute instinct couldn't. I drove my tool's blade straight into its knee joint, a clean, precise, upward strike. The snap of bone was loud, the mountain of flesh collapsing in an avalanche. I didn't let greed or adrenaline take over, instinct told me to retreat. The monster crushed cabinets as it fell, thrashing, refusing to die easy despite its ruined knee. It smashed the floor, trying to rise, ragged breathe, concrete cratering beneath its fists. I refused to give it even a second. The right chance appeared the moment it moved. When the right instant came, I threw my entrenching tool, perfectly aimed. Its edge gleamed through the gloom, spinning for the monster's leering face with brutal finality. The beast jerked its arm up, deflecting the blow with a clash of steel and bone. That instant distraction was what I'd gambled for. I was already closing the gap. In one smooth move I drew my pistol. The next moment, 2 shots thundered in the office, both bullets drilling into the creature's gaping eye sockets with insane precision. Dark, tar-like blood and fragments of brain matter exploded from its ruined eyes. A shudder passed through its body before the giant collapsed, momentum finally dead. Only when I was certain it was down did I collect my tool, using every ounce of force to sever its neck, making sure not a trace of unlife remained in that spine. His monstrous body didn't twitch again. I exhaled a long, cold breath, my shirt stuck with sweat. That entire battle, every second had been calculated, no movement wasted. I didn't have the luxury of basking in survival. My gaze snapped to the corner. There, the faint white dot on the radar promised one last chance, a hidden wall safe. Every tick of my nerves screamed urgency. I faced the wall's safe, patience long evaporated, knowing raw strength was my only hope to seize fortune before time ran out. With every muscle locked tight, I focused all my strength and combat mastery into one explosive swing, the edge of my tool destined to be my trump card, not a lockpick. Open up! My voice snarled through gritted teeth as the sharpened edge slammed metal on metal, the screech echoing. It was violence, not finesse, that split the silence. Strike after strike, I gave everything, each blow deforming the steel a little more as sweat broke out, arm aching, determined to make this stubborn vault surrender its secrets. Finally, a deafening bang, the destroyed mechanism gave way. Heart pounding, I braced myself, grabbing the twisted edge to wrench the safe open with brute force. As the safe's heavy door crashed down, blinding pale light spilled out, 5 egg-sized crystals on the upper shelf, their gentle radiance almost sacred in this ruined world. 5 source energy cores, white grade, every one worth a king's ransom. Just these could pay for years of mom's treatment back home if I made it out alive. My pulse spiked again. I'd almost missed what was on the lower shelf. A single core, more dazzling than the rest, pulsing violet thunder like a living heart. A purple purified source core. This wasn't just wealth, it was destiny. The system even flagged it as top-tier loot. Worlds could change with something this rare. Next to the core, I spotted a black military tablet. Blue grade, encrypted, triple layered. Something even I couldn't crack, but worth a fortune in the right hands. Without hesitation, I packed the white cores, the purple thunder, and the fortress tablet deep into my spatial backpack, each item a possible shield or weapon for my future. I've looted the safe, but a true scavenger knows the drill. Use the radar, brighten the whole base, search for anything not bolted down. Leave no blessing behind. Fresh signals. My eyes darted. Armory and infirmary still remained. I felt my fatigue replaced by fire. I refused to rest, knowing so much was left unclaimed. The armory was stripped, but not bare. I scored fresh pistol and shotgun shells, 2 fragmentation grenades, and a few Molotov cocktails. My arsenal swelled to bursting. Everything with real firepower stuffed into my spatial backpack. Excess rations were dumped into my battered tactical one. Only the highest value loot rode shotgun. The infirmary payout stunned me. Military antibiotics worth more than gold, and rapid hemostatic gel that could stop death in seconds. I didn't leave a single vial behind. Each life-restoring dose found its pocket. Now my spatial backpack stretched at the seams, every centimeter packed with the world's strongest firepower and medicine. My radar finally showed no more loot signals. Relief swept through me, then sharp resolve. The time to flee had come. Every second delayed was a risk I couldn't justify. Instead of retracing old paths, I trusted my radar, following a hidden route to a sewage outlet at the edge of the base. Darkness promising escape more than comfort. Mission complete. Backpack full, and not a single drop of greed left in me. I slipped through the darkness into freedom, carrying treasures powerful enough to shift fate. Emerging from the sewage pipe, I inhaled the sea-tinged air of the ruined outskirts. Grimy and battered, I felt a chill from the world's relentless decay pressing on my every step. I glanced back at that death-shrouded restricted zone, but my heart felt nothing. It had given me all it could. Now my sights were laser-focused on what lay ahead. The final evac point. Only 8 hours left before the zombie horde outbreak. Every heartbeat now measured the distance between me and oblivion. I forced my legs to run harder toward the coastline's promise. With basic combat mastery, I barely noticed the stray undead. My shovel moved in perfect arcs, one smooth motion after another, ending threats with silent, clinical precision. It was almost mechanical. I didn't draw my pistol once. Against these shamblers, steel bit flesh while I conserved every precious bullet. Becoming a silent, moving shadow was now effortless. Half an hour later, salt stung my nose. The wind carried a promise and a warning. The bridge rose in the distance, a white steel dragon coiling above restless gray waves. But as the bridge neared, my pulse tightened. The radar UI lit up. A dense cluster of resource markers painted the screen. Something monstrous was waiting at the crossing. Instinct stalled my advance. Instead, I found the nearest unfinished rooftop. Height met safety and vision. Inhaling, I crawled to the edge and raised my scavenged binoculars. The view through the lenses froze my blood. Beyond the radar's grim tidings, reality was pure hell. Barricades, ruined vehicles, piles of dead, the air thick with burning, metallic rot. Now I understood. The density matched dimensional repulsion. Where players gathered, the system lashed back, unleashing a flood of zombies converging on the bridge like water in a funnel. The axe-wielders group clustered beside an armored van, desperate. Their formation held, but ammo was nearly gone. Wounded men bled, yet none dared lower their weapons for even a second. The short-haired girls' squad darted along the rails, moving with speed and coordination. Harassing attacks bought them moments, but even their velocity advantage couldn't break the horde's encirclement. Suqingshe's group was the most desperate, pinned by a tide of undead against an overturned bus. Wang Cheng's arm hung limp, grotesquely twisted out of shape. Li Bin was missing. Suqingshe, her school uniform ruined, face ghostly pale, kept healing with only the faintest glimmer left. Even hope itself seemed scraped raw by suffering. Watching, I felt nothing. Their suffering was someone else's war, a drama beyond my reach. Survival was all I had. Saving anyone now would be spitting in the face of fate. I stowed the binoculars and forced my focus to the radar again, picking apart every meter of the bridge's profile on screen for even the tiniest sign of an alternate route. There has to be a way, I muttered, heartbeat synced to the radar's pulses. Minute by minute, I mapped and remapped bridge blueprints, hungry for a single overlooked detail. Then I caught it. A tiny blip, hidden 200 meters under the main span, an invisible maintenance passage threading through the bridge, straight to the evacuation point and survival. This was it. My secret road, capillaries running through the bridge's bones. Even as death screamed above the deck, my escape route awaited below, just out of sight and hope. Navigating beneath the bridge, I kept my heartbeat silent, edging closer to the iron-barred maintenance entrance, the only hope left to dodge the chaos above. Sudden gunfire and vicious cursing shattered the silence, making me freeze in place, every sense on edge as I ducked further behind the cold, rough pillar. Peering out, I saw a squad, outfitted better than any I'd seen, clustered near the maintenance entrance, rifles leveled and vests gleaming. Just as they readied to break through, merciless gunfire erupted from behind. Another team ambushed, hidden among rusting shipping containers. The chaos only worsened. Zombie shrieks erupted as the camo-clad squad's firefight lured dozens of the infected tumbling down from the bridge above. Those elite mercs were now doomed. Their leader roaring, rifle spitting lead, but already surrounded by enemies on both sides, nowhere left to run. The ambusher squad's leader taunted them shamelessly from cover, declaring all their gear would soon become spoils. They poured on fire, zombies closing in. Hidden in the shadows, I watched their dirty crossfire, my lips curling into a thin, icy smile. Heaven's chaos was my chance to disappear and win. Waiting silently, I held my breath. Every wasted bullet from both sides bringing my golden moment closer as the battle ground both teams down. The fight's finale neared. Elite squad barely holding out, desperate, until a bullet and the dead finally toppled their last defense. The battlefield fell silent, 4 corpses and a handful of victors gingerly emerging, eyes glinting with selfish glee as they approached the loot. Opportunity crackled. I emptied emotion, snagged a Molotov cocktail from my pack, lit the cloth fuse, and hurled it with all my might toward the looters. With a shattering crash, fire erupted. Flames devoured everything near the impact, turning 2 ambushers into shrieking, writhing silhouettes against the blaze. For a heartbeat, the world was nothing but fire, zombies and humans alike falling back from the smoke, survivors clutching wounds and cursing. Ignoring cries for help, I grabbed the fallen M4A1, tore spare mags free, ripped the tactical backpack from a corpse, and stripped a lightweight ballistic vest with no hesitation. A wounded ambusher raised his gun, eyes wild with rage, but I was gone already, diving into the pitch-black mouth of the maintenance passage. Without a backward glance, I yanked a frag grenade from my vest, popped the pin, and hurled it behind, sealing their fate as the tunnel boomed shut. The world behind me vanished in thunder. Shouts and undead howls faded, the collapsed earth sealing my back. Not a hint of regret in my heart. Manipulating others for chaos, extracting every profit, sealing danger away, coldness and satisfaction mingled in my veins as I vanished into darkness, ready for whatever came next.